While it is tempting to believe the best ideas, research findings, practices, and technologies will spread quickly based on their value alone, this is rarely the case. Improvement teams can help to spread effective and equitable change by understanding the factors that influence how quickly innovations are integrated into a system. In this video, we will explore how the people, the characteristics of the change, and the context affect the adoption rate, and provide strategies that improvement professionals use to spread positive change. Change requires that people try something new. That starts with the decision process. People exist on a spectrum from those who innovate new ways of doing things to others who are hesitant or resist change. Where they fall on this spectrum affects how long it takes to learn about and decide whether to implement a new idea. On the far left are the innovators. They are a small part of the population and tend to launch many new ideas that may or may not be successful. Next are the early adopters. This group consists of opinion leaders who influence the early majority. The early majority are inspired by early adopters to try new changes. This is important to the diffusion process. They may take longer to decide, but when they do try a change, they bring the late majority along. The late majority are less eager to adopt new ideas and may require the peer pressure introduced by the early majority to take the leap. Finally, on the far right of the curve are those who may be suspicious of new ideas and the people who introduce them. They also help us to be cautious when introducing new practices, ensuring that we aren't losing something important in the process. Understanding this spectrum helps change makers prioritize their efforts on engaging early adopters who often move more quickly to try new things and influence their peers. This is a more effective strategy to diffuse innovation than working to convince those resistant to change. The characteristics of the change itself impact whether individuals and organizations will be persuaded to try it. 5 characteristics of the change are particularly important: relative advantage, compatibility, complexity, trialability, and observability. To illustrate these characteristics, we'll use the example of kangaroo care. This change was developed in Colombia in the 1970s. It involves holding a newborn baby on your chest with skin-to-skin contact, instead of swaddling an infant and placing them in a bassinet, incubator, or nursery. Studies have shown that kangaroo care significantly reduces the death rate among babies born prematurely when initiated immediately after birth. With this compelling evidence, this type of skin-to-skin contact is now recommended for all babies. So let's consider kangaroo care across the 5 characteristics of change. First, relative advantage. People faced with adopting a change will ask, is this better than what I currently experience? The more the person knows about the change, the more they can understand its benefits. For example, in addition to reducing deaths among newborns, kangaroo care also helps babies regulate their temperature and breathing, improves bonding, and promotes breastfeeding, giving it a clear advantage over nurseries. The second is compatibility. Does the change align with current culture and values? While kangaroo care may go against some traditional hospital and care norms, the first step in implementing this change is to show care teams how this type of skin-to-skin contact meets a larger value to improve newborn health. Third, it's important to consider the complexity of the change. Will this change be difficult or time-consuming for many people to learn? If so, it will spread more slowly through a system. For complex but impactful change, improvement initiatives can invite experts or teams who are already implementing the change to share their learning. Documenting tacit knowledge or shortcuts will also help teams adapt complex changes to rapidly adopt them. Kangaroo care doesn't require any new equipment or space and is relatively simple to do with some training and practice. Providing how-to advice and tools will help healthcare professionals build their confidence to adopt change, like kangaroo care. The 4th characteristic of a change is trialability. Is it possible to try a change before adopting it fully? Changes that can be tested prior to system-wide implementation have a much higher adoption rate. Improvement practices emphasize small-scale testing as a way to learn about a change and adapt it to work in different contexts. Finally, the 5th characteristic of a change is observability, or the ability to see how the change works for others. In improvement spaces, we count on members of the community learning from each other as an important aspect of spreading change. For example, Healthcare providers could observe how kangaroo care works in other healthcare facilities or film it in action for others' benefit. In addition to understanding the people involved and the nature of a change, the context where a change is shared can accelerate adoption. Networks and collaboratives can create an ideal structure for diffusing innovation. They often have distributed, less hierarchical leadership structures, where teams are encouraged to learn from each other as they test new ideas. How a change is shared within and beyond your team is also important to the adoption rate. For improvement initiatives, change packages are essential tools for sharing what teams have learned in an improvement initiative to diffuse changes to their peers and their wider field. Change packages are the collection of data, tacit knowledge, and other resources that ensure practitioners who will carry the change forward can do so effectively and are able to continue to refine the lessons learned. In summary, 3 factors affect the adoption rate of an innovation: people, the nature of the change, and context. Therefore, understand where people are on the spectrum of innovators and invest energy in engaging early adopters and others who influence their communities. Be mindful of the 5 characteristics that can make a change more or less likely to spread, which are relative advantage, compatibility, complexity, trialability, and observability. Make use of networks and collaboratives as ideal structures for diffusing innovation with their distributed leadership structures and opportunities to learn from peers. Build strong change packages that help peers implement changes in different contexts and support spread. This video is part of a 3-part series. If you haven't yet watched What Makes a Good Change Idea and Consolidation of Learning and Change Packages, visit the video library on our website at shift-results.com.